All right.
I am a professional.
Yes. So hello, everybody, and welcome to the Waking Hypnosis Show. Let me start over.
What's her name?
I was going to say, I was going to try to put an adjective before, and then I was like, no, let me start over.
Okay. Eponymous. What's her? Come up with some like really great eponymous. So now I'm like,
phenomenal. I have the phenomenal.
The ever somnambulistic. Always somnambulistic. Desiree Scherini.
The ever some right. Always.
Come up with some crazy word now. I'm kidding.
So welcome everybody to the welcome.
Yeah.
Why can't I just have to get through
You're
the
making
opening?
me feel better about like when I started.
I'm like, what's going on here? Okay. All right.
Okay.
And start over again. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Waking Hypnosis Show with Stephanie Conkle. I have with me today the most phenomenal, ever amazing, somnambulistic, amazing woman, hypnotherapist, Desiree Scherini with me. Desiree is an award-winning certified clinical hypnotherapist and NLP and mindfulness life coach. She's a speaker and facilitator with multiple certifications. She's been recognized as a top hypnotherapist in the Washington, D.C. area by Best Rated and Top Doctors. Desiree is a professional artist and art instructor, recognized as a top arts instructor by Expertise Magazine. Desiree is the author of Journey to Joy, The Written Path, and a member of the teaching faculty with transformational program, Building Personal Intuition for Decision Making, which can be found on Udemy, as well as Drawing for Painters. I need to take that. Her transformational and intuitive insight process, and let me read that again. Her transformational intuitive insight process is available through Transformation TV. She is a content contributor with the Wellness Universe, where she shares insights and perceptions on life. And you can visit Desiree on her website, and I'll let you tell us about your websites to view her certifications and affiliations, as well as upcoming events and workshops. Welcome, Desiree. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. That was a mouthful, right?
Sorry for fumbling through all of that.
You could have just stopped at like amazing, you know.
Oh, of course. That would have worked too. So tell us where people can go to find out more about you and get more information on your.
I have 3 websites. One of these days, maybe I'll narrow them down. My main professional website is www.transhypnotherapy.com, and that's TRANS hypnotherapy.com. Another professional website for the life coaching and hypnosis is www.intuitivejourneywithdesiree.com, which is the same name as my podcast. So that should be a little easier to remember. And then my artist website is www.artistdesireescherini.com. So if even easier, if you just Google Desiree Scherini or Desiree Scherini, you'll find those and a whole lot more that you don't need to know, but you'll
also, so just Google Desiree.
They'll all come up. Yeah, if you just Google my name, Scherini with an SCH, ERINI. So that's probably the easiest way to find anything. Actually, when I need to, when somebody asks me for my website or for a link to my podcast or something, I just Google my own name because,
okay.
And I'm like, okay, there's that. Click it, copy it,
Right.
transfer it rather than having to remember it or have a list of it.
Oh,
So
I
that's where I
totally
find
get
myself.
that.
Oh,
So, well, before we kind of get rolling, just want to remind the viewers and maybe some viewers who are just stumbling onto this now. The Waking Hypnotist, so this is not like a formal interview. I'm not going to be, asking these like really highly formalized questions. This is more like just friends talking shop. And I just think that Desiree is amazing, and she's just this wonderful multifaceted personality, and she just has so many awesome things going on. I've connected with her immediately. We met at the HypnoBiz conference in May of, I guess, this year, 2019. We sort of just happened to sit on the bus next to each other.
yeah.
And we just started talking to each other and found out that we actually had a lot in common,
Mhm.
and just like couldn't stop talking. And so, which is great. I love that. So that means that, we really resonate with each other. Tell all the viewers just kind of like about some of the work that you do a lot of things. You're a creative, you're an intuitive, you're a healer, you're a hypnotherapist. Where do you want to start?
I know, right? I can kind of give you my story, I guess,
Yeah, yeah. How did you get started?
like how I
Right, how did you
segued
get started
into
into
all
all
these
this?
things.
Yeah.
Um, so my bachelor's degree is in psychology, and so straight out of college, I went into facilitating groups for a wellness program, and was run by the University of Arizona, and I was doing it for military members,
Oh,
and
neat.
that was interesting, having a room full of sailors or officers, and
Oh, I
getting
can imagine.
work with them on stress management and that sort of thing. So I worked doing that for about 4 years, and then I got pregnant and put it on hold, thinking I'd go back. And then I'm like, well, I don't want to leave my baby. So
Yeah, I know all about that. I did the
yeah,
same.
so I ended up being an at-home mom for the most part, working
Okay.
part-time here and there just to like get out of the house, right?
Right.
And my other love was artwork, and so I was doing that as a hobby at home, and that segued into doing it professionally because I could do it while still being home with the kids without set hours of having to be someplace. So worked into becoming a professional artist and doing commissions and then teaching art. Um,
That's so awesome.
and then when the kids got a certain age, here's where I like to say that like kind of intuition and synchronicity happens, right? That things
Right.
come when they're supposed to. Is every year I would take a portrait painting workshop, and I had done it for like 4 years in a row. And I would do it in the break of time between my teaching programs. So there was always like this little break in the winter where I
Mhm.
could, that it kind of worked out. Well, there came a year where my teaching overlapped with the portrait workshop. And so I couldn't take off from teaching to go take the portrait
Oh,
workshop. And I belong to the Edgar Cayce Center, the ARE,
oh, cool. Yeah.
and I
The
would get their
ARE.
flyers about stuff. Now I live in
I didn't
DC.
know that. I'm
Oh
gonna have
yeah,
to ask
so
you
do we
questions
have that in
about that.
common too?
Right. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. So, so they're down in Virginia Beach, which is about 4 hours, and my family lives, my parents, my sister live down in that area. So I'm back and forth there anyway. So I got this card in the mail that says, "Hey, we're going to have, um, going to be held there was a hypnotherapy certification course," and it happened to be at the same time that I was available between
Ah,
classes in that magical little 2 week
synchronicity.
window. It
Yes.
was later.
Okay.
And every year I would save the money to go to this workshop, the portrait workshop. So I had the money. And then there's this, and I didn't know really anything about hypnotherapy. I'd never been hypnotized. I didn't really, it was just like, oh yeah, hypnosis. I don't know, and ironically, my degree in psychology, we never talked about
It
that.
had nothing to do with hypnosis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they didn't talk about brainwave states really in any of my courses.
Right.
And maybe I didn't take the courses that would have gone in that direction, I guess. But so I was unfamiliar with the process of hypnosis really, but had heard of it, for, nail biting or smoking or whatever.
Right.
And so I thought, well, I've got the money and that's, and my kids were a little older, and I thought, that would be kind of cool to incorporate that into my life, and it would be something I could see clients on during school hours or that sort of thing. So it was something else that I thought I could do that. So I went, and that's how I got into hypnosis. And there's a whole nother longer story. Like when you introduced yourself on my show, there's a whole nother longer story.
There's a much longer. If you want to start in childhood, we can go all the way back there.
There's always the story, and then the other story, and
then the other story. Exactly.
But I've told this longer story on other formats, and that people will find out there. So at the around that time, my marriage was failing, and I was super stressed. And really feeling lost. And that process, surviving that process, coming out of that process, learning my own intuition, going, to get over that.
That's sort of a catalyst for you.
That when I finally listened to my own intuition and was able to move forward is what really catapulted me full on into life coaching and wanting to help other people. But that was like a longer, so in 2012, which was before getting there, is when I went for my training. And at that time, I had just like a few weeks before had a herniated disc in my neck.
Oh, goodness.
And it was horrible, horrible neck pain. I had to walk around like a chicken, like a broken neck, and I could not find comfort. I was on Percocet to get through I was popping those Percocets every 4 hours to get through my day.
Oh my
I got used to it. Now, once again, now it knocks me out, makes me want to throw up, but I was managing with that. And I was waiting for surgery. I was on the list, but I had to wait a month because there was no room. So that was my state, where I had finally managed on the Percocet to be able to drive. Before that, in the beginning, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
So I went down there, and the prophetic thing, I was trained by the National Association of Transpersonal Hypnotherapists. And what's nice about that group is they are transpersonal. So they incorporate all this other stuff. And I didn't even know that. I just went, certification in hypnosis, but I was sent there because that's where I needed to be, right? Yeah, and Alan Chips, who was the director and instructor, and his wife Dee Chips ran the program, and he's since passed on, unfortunately. But I'm sitting there with like at a table listening, and he opens it up saying, "Well, you're all here to learn hypnosis, right?" And he says, "And you're all here for another reason that that we probably don't know." And I remember thinking, yeah, whatever, right?
Right.
And really going forward so many years, even a couple years after that, I know what that other reason was. Obviously, is it brought me into this area of life and this area, and ironically, like about 2 weeks after that, I was due to have my pre-op appointment with my doctor. And by that time, having gone through my hypnosis training and being surrounded by all these healers that were also taking it, and changing my stress level, because I really think it was inflammation that had just pushed it over the edge, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was fine.
Awesome.
Even though my x-ray, or MRI looks like, right. I kept my pre-op, and the doctor puts up my MRI and he goes, "You're in a lot of pain, aren't you?" And I said, "No." And he looks at me, and he looks at my MRI, and I said, I'm good. But I wanted to keep this appointment with you because if I ever do need you, I want you to be my doctor.
Yeah.
And that awesome. That was in 2012.
Right.
And so that's like my kind of like what learning hypnosis and incorporating that whole energy of self-healing too.
Absolutely.
Good for me.
I know that I get a lot of self-healing through clients who come to me. Um, they seem to mirror back or sort of like reflect what I'm going through at
Yeah.
any given time, or like the shadow part of myself that I haven't wanted to deal with, that I haven't thought about, and then they're bringing their issues, and it sort of kind of forces me to deal with my issues too
Yeah.
at the same time. And I have just received so much self-healing just through the years, just by helping my clients.
Yeah.
I've just sort of inadvertently helped myself as well. Do you find that,
Yeah.
happens with you as well?
Yes. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you or to someone else when we were talking, but um, I have clients come in where I'm like, well, why'd you come to me? Because I could use what you're doing.
Right,
You
exactly.
have strengths that I'm going to gain from this, and I think you were sent to
Yeah,
me so that there was a mutual exchange. And I just came up
right.
with a great idea as a hypnotherapist.
Okay.
Whatever our problem is, like if there's something that we're working on, advertise a special.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yes.
And those clients come in. You think I'm kidding?
No, no, not it.
I'm like, that's not a bad idea. It's all,
I think that's actually a great idea. We should market test that and see how that
yeah,
works.
just advertise a special on whatever it is that we need to learn
Yeah.
to help, because I find that too as teaching. I teach some classes for the community college, and I've been asked to teach stuff that I didn't know anything about because like the teacher dropped out or something like that, and I'm like, okay, Greek art and architecture, sure. There, I'm like, so it's a crash course
Right.
to so I can learn it to teach it. So I do kind of thrive under the gun. I think when there's something I need to give to someone else, I'll go through the work to do it.
Yes.
But sometimes I get a little lazy when it's for myself, right?
Yeah,
It gets put
absolutely.
off, and I think a lot of people do that anyway. We put ourselves off until last, especially moms, or my kids are grown. So you've got the ones at home that you still probably have
Right.
a lot of stuff
I
off
still,
for.
mine are young. I was an old mom. I call myself an old
Old
mom
mom.
because I didn't have my first child until I was 30.
Well, that you're still a spring chicken.
Oh, well, thank you. I know I look younger than my age, which is nice on one hand because like, yeah, I look younger than my age, and then on the other hand, I have been sort of called out by other, let's just say therapists, saying, oh, do you really know what you're talking about? You look too young to know what you're talking about. So sort of like holding on to that authority that I need to have.
Mhm.
It's like, well, if you follow me, you'll know that I know what I'm talking about. And even if I were 20 years younger, that shouldn't really make a difference. You should, really get to know a
Mhm.
person and not just sort of like judge them by the book cover, right?
Right. And if they didn't see you, they went. And that's another thing, is that I kind of feel like sometimes like I need to hurry up because I'm not younger,
Okay.
and then I find myself, I confess, cut this part out. No, I'm kidding. Like I'll see like people that are much younger, and just like their stuff is just taking off, and I'm like, wait a minute, that's my idea. Or like I said,
Yeah, I
and
can
I'm
see
and
that.
this, I'm
I can,
like, and then I'm like, well, okay, what's that about? There's talk about shadow side.
right,
What what
totally.
what am I what do I need to deal with there? It's just enjoy
Yeah,
your life.
anytime I feel jealous that somebody else is doing something, especially in my career, then I have to like really take a look inside myself, like, well, why is that pinging me?
Yeah.
Why am I jealous about that?
Uh-huh.
And it's more not even jealousy for me. I think it's more of disappointment in myself, like, oh,
Hmm.
I should be where maybe further along, where that person is. But but really we are where we're supposed to
Yeah,
be.
exactly. Just
We're the
like
perfect place.
exactly. We are exactly, and just having that perception and reminding myself I'm where I'm supposed to be, doing what I'm supposed to be right
Right.
now, and reaching the
Absolutely.
levels and the people. Also, I have discovered about myself is I think there's a lot of life path. Or if you're into numerology, I really see when I read mine, astrology or numerology, it really is me,
Yeah.
and that I'm not what some of these other people have done. I haven't been willing to do. I'm not willing to give up some downtime. I'm not willing to do some of the things that maybe some of the younger people are all like gung ho.
Right. Or people that don't have children, right? And they have this extra time and extra money to travel everywhere, to do all of these workshops and to do all of these things in person. Whereas I have very limited time because I am a mother of 3. My kids are still young. They're 7, 11, and 13. So they're still at ages where it's like they really need mom and dad. So, I don't really have the luxury of jet setting everywhere.
Exactly. And
having said that, I mean, I do get out. I do go to the important conferences. I have had to make some sacrifices, but still trying to keep that work-life balance.
Balance. Well, you should just homeschool them and take them everywhere, and then the school can't send you, nasty grams if they're gone.
I know. You would think that but I am homeschooling just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah, that was another thing I wasn't willing to do.
Right. I'm not willing to do that. I'm willing to work on myself and to get some better education, but I'm not willing to homeschool them myself. It's like, no, thank you.
I know. It's especially with 3 kids. Could you imagine?
And one is autistic, and it's really too hard. Just bringing them over. Just going. We had this wedding cruise. My sister got married just recently on a cruise ship, so we had to all be there because we were all in the wedding, and that was it was it was all right. It was fun. It was 5 days, but I was very ready to be home and send them back to school and get back into more of a structure. So I really can't see them like traveling and taking them everywhere with me, that just because they're not, I just really
that's okay. But I know everybody's like on their different, when you're talking about like envy or young versus older, or one of the things that I really don't like to hear people say is, oh, I'm too old now, or I'm too old to do that. And so that's something like I have to remind myself. So I forget like what my age is. I'm like, well, I'm, and I try to convince everyone else to not even know what my age is. So
right. Well, you look gorgeous. I don't know how old you are, but you look gorgeous.
And you never will. See, this is
right. Exactly.
My kids are grown now, and so I'm kind of, it's all like, this is sort of like this second career thing, kind of.
Yeah.
I focused on the art, and now I'm segueing over. I'm still doing art. I'm still teaching art. But now I'm like so interested in, the hypnosis and life coaching, and then moving on into the metaphysical and the more spiritual studies. And all I want to do is learn. It's like, I just want to like take off, and but then I have to think about like, and how am I going to pay for that?
Right, exactly. Me too. We're on the same wavelength. Yeah. I'm the same. Like I was telling you earlier, for 2020, I need to come back to my creative self, and I want to learn, and I want to take less clients, and I want to travel to less places, and I want to keep teaching, but I want to teach less just for 2020, because I just feel like I need to kind of center myself, cocoon myself. I feel so depleted from 2019, and I just feel like I need to, re-energize myself, and then maybe 2021 I can ratchet up again and go, and really not until my kids get into maybe like high school do I even really feel comfortable traveling a lot, because I still need to be home for them mostly. And my husband is really great at helping out, and I have no complaints with him, and I trust the kids with him fully. And, so it's not even that, he just have to take off from work when I travel. So the scheduling is a little
right.
But I would like to get to the point where I can leave and not feel guilty for being gone for so long, and and know that the kids are fine without me for a little while. So that will be nice, and I know that day will come someday, and I just do what I can do for now.
Yeah, it's like we say, it's like you just know where you are. I was watching a brief interview with Megyn Kelly. Do you know who she is?
Yes,
Newscaster.
yeah.
and she was being interviewed, and I didn't realize that she'd been gone 2 years. See what I
Oh,
know.
I didn't know she had either.
And but she was talking about that she had small children, and she realized that that window of time is only right now,
Yes.
and that they were like, what, 4 or 5 or something like that, and
Yes.
she decided that she wanted to be at home with her small children for this window of time. And she goes, but it is kind of nice to be back, so you might see more of me, but just, I guess, such a heavy duty
Right.
full-time anchor job was taking her away too much. So I think it takes a lot of insight,
Hmm.
and going with like what is the most valuable thing. So like you're saying that instead of like you're not giving up, you're allowing yourself to be home with your kids.
Yes.
You
Right.
know, there's
Exactly.
that feeling of, I'm going to allow myself instead of feel guilty about not. And
Right. Yeah. And, for a while, I kind of actually got into a depression when I was solely staying at home with the
mhm,
children, and just feeling very alone and very isolated with no adult conversation, no
yeah,
brain stimulation of my own.
yeah,
Of course, I enjoyed the children, loved the children, but it was everything besides the children that was just felt very isolating to me. So it was very important for me to at least have a part-time business when they were small, and just to kind of grow that business. And I started my own. I started off as a life coach, but then I quickly moved into the role of hypnotherapist. And I started off in my home, and I just took people from like Girl Scout moms, and
yeah, yeah,
actually not, it wasn't even that, this was like the toddler moms that I took at this point. um, and just people who I sort of knew. I just kind of took them into my home at first, and and that was really for me, as much as it was for them. And it really wasn't even me trying to make money. It was just me trying to learn something new and use my brain and help someone else, and do what I could do to feel like I was contributing, and and
yeah,
um, and it just sort of just balance my own brain, balance my own life. And then it got busier, and then my career really took off after that. But it was very important for me to be working. But it is finding that balance, because my own mother, very successful corporate career woman,
mhm,
always, she works in the technology industry. She was always in upper management, um, usually the president or the CEO or the
wow,
COO of whatever technology company she was working for. And that meant that she worked very long hours and stayed late nights and traveled all over the world for her job, and which meant that I didn't really see her that much. And my dad was very awesome and supportive, and he was Mr. Mom, and he did the carpooling, and he made us breakfast and
but
dinner.
he was a maverick in those days, like, 'cause that's
Definitely.
before our generation, where it was like
Definitely.
dad worked and mom stayed at home, and
Right.
you know
And dad worked, but he just didn't work at the same level that mom worked.
yeah, but I mean, like, it was usually like they
Right.
didn't do any of that.
Right. That's true. And so I didn't, so I had that work ethic role model that my mom has.
Mhm.
I wish I had her energy level, though. I don't have that energy level, but because she's in, well, I won't say reveal her age, but she's older now, and she has not retired. She could have retired a long time ago, but she's still
Wow,
going strong. She's still traveling the world. She's still running
wow,
multi-million-dollar corporations, and and still loving every minute of it. So, which is great. But there was a part of me when I was a child that kind of wished that my mommy were home, like,
yeah.
where's
I want my
mommy? I
mommy.
want my mommy. I want mommy to be home. And I saw all my friends, all of their moms were home,
Hmm.
and a lot of my friends' mothers kind of sort of became my surrogate mothers, and would sort of answer questions that I may have had that maybe I didn't want to go to my dad with, but my mom wasn't home. Um, but I just, and that's fine. And I don't like judge my mom for that. She did what she felt like she needed to do for herself. But for my own children, I just was like, I just I want to make sure that I'm there for them whenever they need me. So I do all my work in the mornings and the early afternoons, and then I'm home for them when they get off the school bus.
Yeah.
And that means that sometimes I have to, after they go to bed, I go back into the office and I take people at night, or I'll take people on Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
But it works for me. I would rather do it that way. So I do have the time with my children, but then I also have this, career as well.
Yeah. And, it works. And you're just going to get more and more availability as time goes on, or less and less, and depending on if they're on sports teams, then you
Right, exactly. Oh gosh, yes. It's especially my oldest. She's just in so many activities now, and so it's a lot of the chauffeuring her around.
I remember the driving, and then two kids going to like two
Right.
different ways, and
And they're all in 3 different schools, and they
oh
have
yeah.
3 different type of education levels, and my oldest has special needs in that she is so smart. She's in special classes, she's in advanced classes. She was 13 and she took the SATs,
Wow.
last year, and all this kind of stuff. And then I've got my autistic son who's special and has special needs, and we have to do special IEP for him and special classes and special teachers, and then there's the baby, and we're like, okay, I'm kind of like, all right, be normal.
Don't be too smart. Don't have a challenge. Just
be normal. Yeah. So she's the
don't
more
get into sports.
I'm going to say she's the more neurotypical child, because I don't like
Neurotypical.
To use
I like that. I've never heard that word. Neurotypical.
So,
I'm going to use that on somebody someday. You seem very neurotypical. What we were talking about when we ended up our last conversation, that we were talking about, I even forgot what we were talking about on our last conversation, when we said we should have this conversation.
Yeah, because so Desiree interviewed me on her show, and afterwards we just started talking about spiritual
after I pushed stop record, then we got a whole nother conversation.
We had a whole nother conversation.
I can't remember what it was now.
You're telling me about when you were dreaming and then you had a vision.
Oh yeah.
You got some information, which I do want to get into this.
That's right. We were talking about regression, or not even a regression, but about spiritual and being connected or not connected to. Right. I've lost track, because then I talked to Joanne after you, and talking about the past life regression, or that.
We were talking about past life regression a little bit. We were talking about the in-between lives.
Yes, that's what got us started. Yes.
That's what got us started. And then we had like this awesome conversation. I was like, man, if we had just kept the recording going, that would have been like awesome for other people to eavesdrop in on. Yeah. So we wanted to see if we could try to pick that up.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, though.
Yes. Okay.
I want to know about your involvement with the Edgar Cayce stuff.
Well, I just belong to the, I'm like a member of the center. And so every time I'm down there, which I'm down there about once a month, not at the center, but I'm in the area. And so I do go over there to usually spend too much money in their shop, check out the library. But Edgar Cayce was a name that I had known for like ages, because my god sister in particular was a big fan of his back, years, because she's older than me, and she used to read his stuff and talk about him. So he was probably the first name and first person that I really learned about, are associated with the psychic abilities and what he did. So other than that, I took my certification at the center.
Okay.
I belong to it, but I don't have.
But you have psychic abilities yourself.
Yeah, well, what I was saying to somebody else. Yeah, we all have it. This is
absolutely, yeah.
And so, for the listeners, I was in our earlier conversation, I was telling Stephanie, because we were talking about a certification I'm about to take, and we got into comparisons about one person's way of getting there and about Stephanie's way of getting to this state of mind, or this state of out of mind, really.
A non-awareness state.
And different people's approaches. And so I'm going to be taking a certification in a couple weeks at the NAF, National Association of Transpersonal hypnotherapists conference that's coming up at the beginning of November. Following the conference, I'm going to take another certification for Life Between Lives. And so in this conversation about reaching this space out of body, but spiritually in the no place, no time space where we also exist. And
Right.
so when you said I have some of these powers myself, I was telling you that I started getting things recently, like in the last year. I started getting phrases, words, people's names, and in occasions where I could check that out with somebody, I decided to start asking, hey, do you know somebody by this name? And I started getting verification, and the idea that like having some of these things verified was so. When we were talking about on a previous conversation, you and I, about energy and it being here, it being there. And I've always believed that, not all of our energy is here. I believe that's how psychic ability works. I believe that's how even, psychokinesis or anything, because the energy is not isolated just inside of us, and part of our energy is still there, of who we are is still up above with source or out or whatever. So having said that and having that belief, you can believe something, but until it actually, I'll give another example in a minute, but until you actually have it, you're exposed to it, then you're like, oh, right.
Right.
So my mom passed away in July, and two things happened. A couple days after she passed away, I'm just waking up from being asleep, and as you and I know, that state of half awake, half asleep is the state that hypnosis or deep meditation also is that theta wave, brain wave, where your conscious mind is kind of taking a little break. You're in that open window area. And as I was just waking up, it's like I saw her standing beside my bed. And I had told you this before, so she had these 3 flat stones in front of her, one smaller one about up to the knees, one medium one behind it, bigger, and another big square flat stone, sort of like marble or concrete smooth stones in front of her. And she was leaning, and then she does this and is saying, build me up, something about build me up. I made a note. I make these notes on my phone of my dreams or memories, stuff like that, because I'll forget it when you're full awake. You know what I mean?
Right.
And later on, when I looked at it to refer to it, I also saw that she was talking something about her bed, saying something about her bed and build her up.
Okay.
And I'm like, I was working on her obituary, and I'm like, what? She wants me to say good things about her? Like, what is this, Mom? Like, what
does that mean? Build me up.
Build me up. So 2 days later, we were going to the cemetery to choose a space. And the guy says, well, there's this area over here and this area over here. And he says, or we have our new mausoleum. And then he puts a picture of the mausoleum in front of us. And he says, it's not the traditional kind, it's all exterior. And it was this large monolithic kind of thing with these flat stones.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I'm like, oh, I look at that, and it's these flat, square, smooth stones, and it's just like so perfect for the lower height, build me up, and something about her bed, and I'm like, oh, and I had told my dad and my sister about my dream, and I said, and we all go, my sister goes, it's Desi's dream, and I'm like, yeah, and my dad at the same time says, well, your mother never wanted to be buried. She was always afraid of being put under the ground.
Wow.
Because that would be, because we didn't know they had a mausoleum. And so that was the first thing that I got from her. And so I thought, wow, that's kind of cool that I understood that so she's in the top floor of the mausoleum.
Okay. Awesome. So she was literally built her,
build. Right. She wanted to be up in the mausoleum. So then, you know, a month or two go by, and my dad, having a conversation with my dad, and he said, you know, that I would have dreams or stuff where she was in the dreams, because I haven't had any dreams or anything about your mom, and about how much he misses her. And so the next morning I thought, well, you know, I'm going to ask, you know, while I'm in this waking up state, you know, see what I get. Right.
Yeah.
And so I said, hey, Mom, you know, you got any messages for Dad? And so I get that there's a wooden box with an envelope or a card in it that has pink flowers. And I'm picturing like a cigar box. I'm picturing a small wooden box. So this is where like my own, you know, like
Conscious interference.
Yeah, my conscious interference about what I think it means could get in the way. But she said a wooden box with this thing. And I'm like, okay. And I'll explain what happened with that later. But even more, what I found really interesting, and this is where we got off on this other conversation earlier, before recording this, was I said, well, while I got you, you know, while we're talking,
Why are you still on the line?
yeah, while you're still here, I said, what's it like there? And she said, it's soft. It's soft. And she says, it's beautiful. Everything's beautiful. I'm beautiful. Aww. And I said, and both my godparents just passed away. Oh, I can share this one too. But both my godparents just passed away in the last year or two. And my godmother, who is my mother's best friend, passed away just about a month before her. And, you know, I say, she's like, you know, Dolly, you've got to come. This place is amazing, you know, because my mom had been sick, and it was almost like I really feel like, you know, there was this, like, it's, you know, come on, we're here for you. My sister has also passed away a few years ago. So I know lots of people over there. And
you do.
And so I asked her, I said, is Ann there? Are Ann and George there? That's my godparents. She goes, yes, they're here. And I said, is Karen there? That's my sister. And she said, yes, your sister's here. And to me, that's like how she would have answered me. Of course, this could be, you know, coming out of here, but this is how she would have answered. And then she said, Donnie's here. Donnie was her favorite dog before I was born. And I won't go into everything, you know, but then she says, everybody's here. You're here. You just don't know it.
That still gives me the chills.
And that
gave me the chills the first time you said it.
And I was like, wait. And I had to, I'm like, she goes, and you're here too. You just don't know it. Everybody's here and you're here too. You just don't know it. And I was like, you know, I had to like, and
let that sink in, right?
You know, maybe I am that smart, and my brain back here is telling me that, but no, I know she said this, and it was my aha, like that somebody, she was telling me like something I really had not put together.
Right. I'm like, but it makes total sense too.
Right, and it does. Sure. After she said that, I'm like, what? You know, like, whoa, mind warp, right?
Right. And I was telling you earlier about the clinical hypnotherapist friend who I know named Keith Anthony Taylor. He was in a coma. He had passed away. They brought him back. He had the near death or afterlife experience for a while. And that was one of the things that he told me, is that we're all in heaven.
And he saw everybody there.
Everybody's there. You're there right now. And when I heard him say that, it was like a big aha moment. It's like, of course, what is my higher self, right? Like, of course, I'm like so much bigger than this like little shell, and I am there as well, and I'm here, right?
Right. And our human physical body and 3D density, and our socialization, culturalization, socialization, and teachings, especially in Western society, keep us
veiled from that.
And then we're taught you're weird,
right?
You know, or you're crazy, or you're hearing voices.
If you peek behind that veil, then you're crazy, right?
But you know, in many Eastern societies, I think it's different in their traditions, especially about reincarnation or about, I still think they feel limited as well. So this is this was fascinating, the idea that, and I always, like I said, a certain percentage of me is here, but part of me is always there too. And energy is unlimited, and time and space is not real. It's a perception to our physical beings. So when she said that, I was like, wow, okay.
Like, mind blown.
And I had to think about that. And then following that, then I said, well, Karen, are you there? And I hear her laugh, so I even had a little exchange with my sister, Karen. And I'm like, okay, well, that's cool. So
wait, so you were doing this in your as you were waking up?
Yeah, I was like, when you wake up, but you're still laying there with your eyes closed?
Right.
Sort of like
if you were like lucid dreaming, or you were like just waking up?
It was like lucid dreaming. It was like, no, it wasn't. It was, okay, like sometimes you wake up and you're still half in your dream?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
it was that state.
But this didn't begin until I was waking up. Does that make sense? Because I woke up and I asked.
Okay, so.
Yeah, but I wasn't fully like awake. I didn't open my eyes yet. I had not opened my eyes. I was still laying there, and I'm like, I had shifted out of asleep.
Okay.
But I was still in that state of not sound asleep, but that sort of hypnotic state where I kept my eyes closed, asked the question, and kind of kept myself not consciously, but tried to keep myself in that state where I did not fully wake. Mm-hmm. And as soon as I did open my eyes, I recorded, so
I love that, because they always tell you before you fall asleep at night, you can ask all these questions, or you can program your subconscious and all that. And I try to do that, but I'm usually so tired, I forget about it. I fall asleep. And then wake up but I do wake up in the morning and just kind of lay there. Like, I don't like pop right out of bed. I do kind of lay there with my dreams, with my thoughts. And I never really thought that to sort of hijack that and use that for my own good. I'm going to start doing that.
And like they say, like, if you have a problem or something you need a solution to, you can ask for the answers before you go to sleep. But same thing in the morning. If you have time and you can keep yourself in that state,
might even be easier in the morning. And maybe even if you just set your alarm for like 30 minutes before you need to wake up.
I think if my alarm went off, I might jolt myself too awake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think do it on a weekend when you can wake up naturally.
Okay. I never get to wake up naturally because my kids come and jump on me.
Yeah, maybe that's why you haven't had the chance, right?
That's why I haven't had the chance. But I have had an experience where I did talk to somebody who had crossed over. And this was my best friend's mother, who unfortunately passed away from leukemia. And she was one of the women who was like a surrogate mother to me. And she appeared in my dream. I was dreaming.
Yes.
This was the middle of the night.
Uh-huh.
And she's having this whole conversation with me. And it was one of those dreams that just felt so real. I woke up from the dream. It's 3 a.m. And it's the middle of summer, but I'm freezing cold. I'm like, it's freezing. I'm like shaking like a leaf. Look over at my husband. He seems fine. Yeah. I get up to go turn the air conditioning down. It's like, the air conditioning is way too high. It's like 75 degrees. Like, why am I freezing? Okay. And I'm still thinking about this dream. And I have something tells me, like, these dreams were messages for my friend, and I need to go and while they're still in my mind, I need to go and email her these messages. So I go, at the time I had my computer downstairs. So I go downstairs and I just start like typing, and I'm telling her about the dream in the email. And as I'm typing, I'm getting more messages sort of like downloaded of things to tell her, things that I wouldn't even know about. One thing she said was, and this was my best friend's mom, and she was, and I'm not going to say her name, but she was like, tell her that I'm okay. I'm doing really well. I'm happy. Tell her dad, like, really misses her. And she said, tell her that the dad in his office had a little had like a little tape recorder, okay, that just sitting on his office desk, and she would turn it on just to let him know that she was there. And
Oh.
so I wrote that in the email from, okay, that the tape recorder being turned on is a message.
Is her.
From your mom, is her. And also he holds his hand out, like he pretends to hold her hand still. And when he does that, she actually does hold his hand.
Aw.
So I'm typing all of this stuff in the email. I send it. Then I go back to bed, and I'm not cold anymore. Okay, now I'm just warm. Go back to bed. I wake up the next morning. I go like, oh my God, what did I do? I just, oh my God, I just sent this crazy email to my best friend. I just reminded her of her mother's passing. I'm probably going to upset, I probably just upset her. And now I feel really bad. And that was really stupid. And so the whole day I'm like nervous. She doesn't call me that day.
She's unfriended you and blocked you on Facebook.
I'm like, yeah.
No.
And this was a little bit kind of before the whole Facebook stuff,
Yeah.
but I was very scared, very nervous. Then I didn't hear from her all day. Then the next day she calls me and I see that's her number. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I should answer. But then I was like, well, if she goes to voicemail, like just rip off the Band-Aid, gets this over with, And so I was like, hello. She goes, you know that email you sent me? And I was like, yeah, I'm so sorry. That was so crazy. Don't don't pay any attention.
I was dreaming. Yeah.
This is a dream. I don't know what I was doing. She goes, no. She goes, no, stop talking. She goes, let me tell you something. This is why I'm not going to say her name. She goes, I was having really, really bad postpartum depression. And she said she had planned on killing herself.
Whoa.
And she said at 5 o'clock, if my husband doesn't get home by 5 o'clock, I'm going to go to the kitchen and take pills or whatever. I can't remember how she said she was going to, but she was like, I'm going to kill myself at 5 o'clock or something, 6 o'clock, something like that. Some certain time. So some certain time had come and gone and her husband wasn't home. And she had this very strong urge to just check her email one last time. And the first email that popped up was the email from me.
Wow.
So that was clearly her mother saving her life and just using me as a channel to get through to her. And she said she read it, she cried, she knew that she was going to be okay. And then she sent the email to her dad, which was really embarrassing to me because I'm like, I don't know if all this stuff is real. And she said, no, my dad replied and he was crying. And he said, everything that you said in that email was true. He said there is a little tape recorder on his desk that will just automatically go off at random times. And there is, he does hold his hand out and pretends like he's holding her hand. So it was just a confirmation that she's still with them. She's still watching them, that she's okay. They're okay. And I just thought, by the way, you just look so beautiful right now.
I know, I'm seeing this and I'm like, we're talking about spirits.
This is exactly what I'm thinking. And the light of
the spirit light just starts, because I'm not even sure how it's getting in here because I have my blinds my blinds are shifted that way, and it's just they're here. Like
they're here. We're talking about them, and now they're here.
And I'm like debating whether or not to close the blinds all the way. I kind of like being lit up in the spirit light.
I like it that way. That looks cool.
Yeah. It's crazy. If they take me away,
then I'll
if it takes over, I just thought that it's so funny because as we're talking about it, this light starts to shift in here.
I was noticing that as I'm talking, and it's like I'm becoming distracted because I'm just seeing this. I'm so focused.
And I could see it too, and I'm thinking, should I get up and change that, or is it just coincidental, or there's no such thing?
You already know the answer to that, right?
I love that. I love that story. And, I love hearing stories like that because, like I said, it's affirmations. And so what happened with my my dad is I go to him with the story about saying, well, Mom, I asked Mommy if she had a message for you. And the other thing I got from her was, for my dad was, I heard you. Okay. And I'm thinking, okay, did I make that up?
Mm-hmm.
Because at her funeral, he spoke to her, right? And I'm thinking, well, maybe that's what I want to tell him. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't tell him that.
So it's like the message that you got in your,
right.
Okay. And
was my mom saying, here, there's this, this, and this. And then also I heard you talking about him to tell him. I heard that I heard you. And so I didn't tell him that right away because I was like, okay, maybe I'm making that up. And no, and I mean, it would have been good things to say I heard you, but then I thought, am I just saying that? That's the spirits that went by.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Am I just making that up for my own satisfaction to say that, right? So I didn't say it right away, but I did tell him about the wooden box with the envelope or the letter with or a card with flowers, pink flowers. And so he says, well, out in this little back house thing they have, like a storage area, he says, we have a wooden chest that has stuff in it. We can go, let's go check. So we did, and we dig through a few things, and there wasn't really saved letters. There wasn't like, oh, I saved all your letters or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I found a letter that had pink flowers all around the border, a stationery. It was like one of those cutesy stationaries, and it was a letter that my mom wrote my dad in 1976 when he was away on a trip, and she sent it to the hotel. But it had an arrow that said return to sender back to home because he must have already left by the time the letter arrived. Okay. And when I'm digging, I pull it out. I'm like, I found it, Dad. You know, I found the letter with a flower border. And we're like, okay, you know, like open it up. And so they'd already been married by 30 years at this time. And so what I think is really special about this is that it could have been, you know, that the contents of the letter was so specific to.
So was the envelope sealed?
No, it had been opened.
Oh, it had been opened. Okay.
I think it was opened. I'm trying to think. It wasn't still.
Just wondering
if it was still sealed.
To sender. Okay.
Right, but he says, I don't remember ever seeing this. And why would she save it? You know, if he was already home anyway, but nonetheless, there it was. And so she was writing him a letter while he's gone on a trip. And it begins with, I miss you so much. It's really dull here without you. It's just not the same. And I need to scan it and save the whole contents, but I didn't do that. I did take a picture of the front of the envelope that has this little border. And it has like a cute little flowery girl, and it says, this message is sent to you because I'm always thinking of you, or something like that on the envelope. But then it goes through her day, and I did this and this, and yesterday we did this. And then the whole second page is recalling when they were first dating and how they said, oh, you're the only one for me, and I love you too, and you're like, you'll always be my only one. And so it was this very romantic love letter about how she misses him, and how if she was there right now, she would hug him and kiss him, and about being his only one always and forever. And just so perfect message to someone, you know, who you're separated from, who's, you know, telling, I love you always and forever, and we're still, you know, you're still the only one, or, you know. And he was so happy to get that. I think you're just messing
with the audio, because I didn't hear the last couple of things you said that sort of glitched out.
It says, your speaker is not working. Please check your connection or use a different speaker. Is that me or you?
Well, I'm not seeing that message, so maybe it's you. Oh, I can't hear you at all now. Oh, you're on mute. Okay. Let me unmute you. So I think it's just the bandwidth. Why can't I? Don't know why it's not letting me unmute you. Can you unmute yourself?
No, because there. How's that?
There we go. I'm like, Spirit is messing with us now.
Yeah, maybe they didn't. That they're coming back.
They're coming back.
I wonder if that whole story didn't get recorded or did.
It was kind of choppy, I think.
Oh, well. Anyway, the bottom line was that I did find the envelope with a love letter from my mom to my dad that she had written in 1976. And so, like I was saying earlier, just the verification. So the, like, seeing the stones in front of her and her saying, "Build me up in the mausoleum," that was pretty good verification
Yeah,
of that
definitely.
I knew what she was talking about. But to specifically find a letter with pink flowers on it in a wooden box from my mom to my dad after I asked for a message for my dad from my, asked my mom if there's a message she wants to give my dad. That that's pretty specific,
I love
right?
that. And that raises the hair on my spine, you know?
Yeah, it's so sweet. And then after we found that, I said, well, I didn't want to say this earlier because I thought maybe I'm just making it up, but she also said she heard you. And so I'm like, okay, I feel pretty confident that she was telling me to say that too.
That's
So
beautiful.
it's been, now my mom was psychic, and everybody's psychic, but some people seem not to have as much stuff in the way. And so I almost feel like, okay, so she's passed on and maybe like left some of it with me, because as much as I appreciate the idea of getting messages and making them useful to other people,
Mm-hmm.
and to myself, I it's just this last year, and even before she passed on, I started getting stuff this past year. So you were talking on our last conversation about 2019. A lot of people, there seems like in the last few years, there's just a lot of waking up, as you
Yeah.
would call it, higher vibration frequencies, rising. And I could say that maybe with what I've been doing, the sort of work I do, the sort of studying I've been doing, that combined with maybe just the energy around us, that thing like the veil, is kind of lifting, that separation for me
Right.
at least is
And I think
opening up.
you're also open to it as well. And you're also very artistic. So you already have the part of, your brain that needs to be
My brain's already strange, so
no, not strange.
yeah, yeah. It depends on like who you're talking to.
Right.
And so I'm just really appreciating it. So then I thought, well, you know what, I'm gonna explore this. And so I've been taking a couple courses on mediumship to see
Right.
how to either enhance it, how to choose to use it, or to turn it on or turn it off. And
Right. You just
because
hone
I'll
your
tell you
ability. You look
what a
like an
great,
angel right now.
but I think what I really liked about it, just like hypnotherapy, just like life coaching, is it's a wonderful vehicle to help people. Like you helped your friend. Like people that suffer from a loss, to learn and understand and have evidence
Absolutely.
that your lost one is fine. And even more so, this is where we started talking about, when we started talking about the life between lives, or that in between state, that our energy, that we are there with them.
Right.
Something else that happened during that session, that half awake conversation
Hmm.
that I had, my sister, who's passed on, had a baby die of SIDS when she was about 3 months old.
Oh.
And as I was laying there, and of course this is like clearly not the physical form of the person, but a representation.
Sure.
But I wasn't even thinking, her daughter's name was Marilyn Jean, the baby that died.
Hmm.
I wasn't even thinking of her. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't even like saying as Marilyn Jean. I mean, like, she didn't even occur to me. She was a 3 month old infant, and that wasn't one of the people that I was asking about.
Hmm.
But I saw this tall, slender, young woman with long dark hair, very beautiful, and I knew it was Marilyn Jean.
Aw,
And
love that.
I was like, in my vision, my mind's eye, I saw this person and I knew who it was. I'm like, it's Marilyn Jean. And again, I was confounded because I'm like, but wait a minute, she was a baby, she
Yeah.
died. And so my visual showed as if she had not died.
Wow.
And so there was another whole thought process of, we're all there and nobody dies.
Right.
So
I'm just
her,
like we're all sort of at this specific age, 20s, 30s,
yeah.
something like that, where we're still sort of like
So
young, but we're not, but we're old enough.
yeah,
Um,
but she
child.
appeared as if the age she would have been right now.
Oh, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
that's what I
cool.
mean. Like, so I saw a young woman, an adult young woman that I recognized as Marilyn Jean for no good reason to recognize her as Marilyn Jean. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah.
As
It
as the
sees you as
as
her.
she's there, and I'm like,
That's
oh.
awesome.
And I thought, there, my sister has all of her children, whether they're alive or not. That whole everybody's there. And she
I
also
love
told me
that.
that Sambuca was there, which was her favorite little dog. And she's like, in Sam,
Oh,
so I thought, wow. So I'm having this, like, in this, last few
Tiffany.
weeks, kind of this weird stuff. And I had mentioned, like, we had talked about Dolores Cannon, and I was talking about reading Michael Newton's book on the life between lives, which is the certification I'm going to get. And he also then kind of added another verification about a percentage of our energy is here and a percent of our energy is there, and talking about the souls and that we can go into this in-between state and see everybody in our soul group,
Mm-hmm.
is there, whether we're alive or dead.
Mm-hmm.
They're there. And
Right. Like we're all there. We're all together.
and so I just love the idea that there's just to be able to share that with evidence to people, that it would alleviate suffering, to recognize this
It's
whole
a beautiful
concept
thing. Right.
is a gift, to be like, for people to be able to let go of that sadness,
We're seeing like from sort of the backgrounds that we come from. We both come from Catholic
Catholic.
backgrounds, Catholicism, but a lot of people come from Christian backgrounds where this is sort of taboo. And,
Oh yeah.
you
My
know,
my sister-in-law is more, I don't know what to label her, but a Baptist, maybe more fundamentalist.
mhm.
And she's very concerned about my soul, but we've come to an understanding. And I really enjoy her company, and we enjoy each other's company, but we may not agree on the, how
Right.
we see God,
Yeah. And I think as we're shifting and more souls are awakening, um, I think there's so many people that are awakening now and they're like, okay, well, where do I go? What am I supposed to believe? Right. And these signs are happening and now all of a sudden maybe I'm telepathic. Um, Maybe I'm now an intuitive healer, have like all these sort of powers now as we're moving into this next dimension, as the earth is moving to this next dimension and we're going into our next density. We're sort of having to redefine ourselves and redefine what we believe. And it was I kind of I'm still kind of in the closet around some of my
Yeah,
family
I
members
think,
because it's just
yeah.
easier to not have to go there. But then at the same time, it's like I have this need to, I feel like I need to sort of spread the message. I need to help people going through the awakening process so they're not just sort of stuck. So, to help them through their journey so they don't feel lost. Um,
Mm.
so what are your thoughts on that?
Well, what I like to be able to share with people, and or teach or talk about, is that the real someone's religious beliefs are not of, I want to say, not of God. They're not, God did not create the religious beliefs. Men created those religious beliefs. And that's why there's so many different religions. That's why religions fight, because God, or as we know of God, universe, source, spirit,
Right, sources,
that
spirit,
God
the universe.
has been usurped and used by religions over many, many thousands of years in order to maintain or control the population, or
Right.
even for money or
Political
politics.
gains or right.
And so, and not to, but there are, at the same time, I also honor others' religious, beliefs, that faith. See, the problem is prayer works.
And it's
And
universal.
why prayer works. What is prayer? So I like to show when people that are saying, "Oh no, 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 you're weird or that's evil."
Right.
Prayer is sending out energy and intention,
Intention, right.
right? And so if I say, "Well, I'm sending an intention and I'm manifesting," that sounds witchy.
Right.
But if
That
I
sounds
say I'm
woo-woo.
praying, that sounds, that
Normal.
sounds religious, right? So,
Religious,
and
right.
they're the same thing,
They're the exact absolute same thing.
and so that's what I do like to share, so people might think about it and say, what's different? And believing in God is believing in something that's unseen. So if you talk about science, if you believe in God, well, where's God? Is he in a box? Like you say, you believe in God, then
Right.
what are you believing in? You're believing in an energy
Yes.
and a force and a source of goodness,
Right.
or or for some people a source of punishment. Then you believe in karma, right?
Right.
So, but I think
Well, there's
it's
the
the
yin and
same
the yang.
thing, that people, this, like, you're wrong because you don't follow the rules that are written in my book of God, and I'm, my God is better than your God, and you're not going to heaven because you don't say it my way. And I believe that who or what God really is not about separation and about one being better than the other. It's about unity.
Agreed.
And
100%.
so, that's so I do try to find ways to compare things that are the same and just being called different names.
Right.
You know.
That makes sense. Perfect sense. Oh, Desiree, I could talk to you all
I
night
know.
long. I
Well, this
mean,
has been fun. It's been like you said, it's a great chance to have a conversation about stuff that not too many people, you can catch in the hallway or
right,
something. Say, let me
right,
talk about
exactly.
what my dead mother said.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's always fun to talk with like-minded people and just not feel like you're being judged or criticized,
Mhm.
just for who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
So,
And really what you and I do is, if they talk about intention, our intention is to be of help people heal, help
yes,
people be
service.
happy, and be of service. And so
Absolutely.
there is no ill intent, and
No, everything is positive.
no bad. Like, what's the worst thing that could happen if someone gets a positive message from someone who's passed on, or if somebody gets hypnotized and they feel better about themselves and they have a happier life? How
Right.
bad is that, right? And
Exactly.
it's a good thing, and people are afraid of it because of the woo woo that used to be surrounded.
Because of the mystery surrounding it, that just really,
Mhm.
once we can sort of help people demystify that and know that
Yes.
this is a good thing, then maybe more people will get on board with it.
And as kind of a last comment on that, that when there are religious groups that will say, don't do that, that's bad, stay away from that, the devil's going to get you. If you do that, that's, wickedness, because it's a threat to their organization, to their sense of the overall church sense of control, um, and fear. It's based on fear. And I'll kind of bring up Doreen Virtue here, if you know who
I
she
know.
is.
Yes, I think I know where you're going with
Yeah, like, I don't know what happened, but
this. Well, no,
but
what happened to Doreen Virtue?
but now I've listened to her a couple times, and she's all about fear now.
Yeah,
Fear
definitely.
based, and don't do yoga because I
Right.
realize that that's the devil.
I was
What?
like, was she like brainwashed or like what happened to her?
I don't know what happened. I used to really appreciate her message that of how she was a happier person, having gotten through some stuff as a child and a young woman, and then sharing positivity
Yes.
and the angel messages
Right.
and whatever, however she translated that. And now she's reading and sharing that it's all bad, and
Right.
but it's fear based. Anything fear
Totally
based,
scared by it.
I question. If someone's trying to scare me into
Yes.
believing what they believe, then it's
Me too. And
something.
even when I think about like the way I was raised, and I love my parents for raising me this way, and I send lots of gratitude for my upbringing. really wonderful things came from it, but I was always in a constant state of fear. Always. If I don't say these prayers before I go to sleep, I might die in my sleep. Right.
Right. Oh, yeah. That was a punishing God, especially when I was younger.
Yes.
They've kind of, and you know what's another funny thing is, you know how churches change their rules?
Oh, right. Isn't that funny?
This is absolute. If you do this, you're going to hell. If you do this, you're going to hell. And then they're like, well, we've just had that, you know, like every 5-year meeting, and we've decided that it's not a sin to do such and such. You know, you're not going to go to hell. I'm like, oh, darn, now it's too late. You know, I thought I was going to hell a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. Now limbo doesn't exist all of a sudden, but it's existed for 2,000 years.
Yeah,
what?
Exactly. Whereas truth and a true God or source is eternal and unchangeable.
Yes.
And men writing up these rules, they're changeable. So
right.
That's why if anyone can find that direct connection between themselves and God, that's what you trust.
Yes.
You know, you trust that connection. You don't go around deciding who's going to tell you who God is.
That's right. And I think that's where both of our work is leading both of us to is intuition.
Yes.
And teaching others how to go in and listen to their higher power, listen to their intuition. Tell folks how they can get a hold of you or some of your work.
The easiest way to find me actually is to just Google my name, Desiree Holmes Scherini with an Scherini. And there you can, once you go there, you can find, it's easier to find my podcast, Intuitive Journey with Desiree, which is also a video on Transformation TV.
An awesome podcast, by the way. I've been listening to your podcast.
Oh, thank you.
We're doing a brilliant job.
Brilliant I appreciate that. Thanks. I enjoy doing it, as you can tell.
I can tell, absolutely.
I talk about things that I really want people to think about. I have a website, Trance Hypnotherapy. Second website is also called Intuitive Journey with Desiree, and they're kind of linked. As an artist, I have artist Desiree Scherini. And the Wellness Universe, so if you Google my name, you'll find stuff, and you'll find stuff I don't want you to know. Just don't keep going down. So if you can't remember my website name, if you just Google my name, it'll come up along with the podcast. And I do see clients here in DC, and I also work on Zoom like we are right here. I can work with clients. So I'd be happy to work with people too.
Any final words, Desiree?
No, it's just been great. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed talking and
my pleasure.
The spirit with you. Look, I'm getting spirit over here now too.
Spirit is everywhere.
I just feel so angelic and surrounded by. I
would see. There's two of us coming together. We're raising our vibration. Yeah. Right. We're calling in.
Like, wow. What's funny is I can't see this here.
You can't see it just through the video?
Only on the video.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I only see it on the video. I can't see it here. It's sort of like when someone takes a photo and there's orbs.
Yes, yes.
And we don't even have time to go into when I had the orb come to my bedroom as a kid, but that's another story.
It looks like you've got like angel wings. And
I've got this glow coming from over here that I don't even know how that's happening. And
that's probably your mother over there.
Yeah, and this is my soul group.
Family. Your soul group.
You see all the different little.
Yeah, they're cheering you on.
This is my soul group. Oh, you know what? Oh my gosh. Okay, so I'm reading. This is too weird. I'm going to have to take a screenshot of this and be sharing it. So last night I'm reading that Life Between Lies by Michael Newton, and he talks about how things may appear, and over, clients will report similar stories, right? That when they're in that in-between stage, and that lots of small lights are the soul group, and sometimes off to the side is a larger light.
No, you're kidding.
And that's the guide. You know, that's your guide. And so this is my soul.
Like your main guide, your main
guide. Spirit. And
hello, Spirit Guide. Thanks for joining us.
But that's exactly how he described it. He says there'll be lots of small lights as your soul group, and then there's usually a larger light that is the guide off to the side.
Phenomenal. I've got chills everywhere.
Oh, you know, I was talking about having physical proof. They're doing their best to say, really, look.
They really are.
Aw.
Well, I'm going to thank the whole soul group and
Yeah, and my guy. Thanks for everyone being here.
Thank you everyone for being here,
Yeah,
and my spirit
amazing.
guide and soul group too, as well. And and let's have more of these conversations.
Yeah, it would be great to keep in touch. I mean, we could go on and on. We could make many shows out of this. So,
Absolutely.
okay. Thanks,
All right.
Stephanie.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye.
Okay.